Bienvenidos a todos al Foro Internacional 2024 del Centro Interdisciplinario de Estudios del Sur Global de la Universidad de Tübingen, en asociación con la UNAM. Y pues hoy toca el conversatorio La Sociedad de Científicos Anónimos entre Divulgación Científica y Literatura, bajo el marco de proximidades en la relación hombre-naturaleza. Como tenemos público internacional, el conversatorio será en inglés. So welcome everyone to this conversation with the Society of Anonymous Scientists between science, popularization, and literature under the framework of proximities in the human-nature relation. First of all, I want to thank the University of Tübingen and their Interdisciplinary Center for Global South Studies. Also, thanks to the members of the Society, Penelope, Andres, and Jose, for accepting this invitation. We admire your work very, very much. Before I move on to Cristel, I want to remind you that you can ask questions here and on social media. We will address your questions at the end of the conversation. And without further delay, Cristel.
Okay, thank you, Jimena. Good morning to all of you in Mexico. Good afternoon to all of you in Germany. Welcome to the International Forum 2024 of the Interdisciplinary Center for Global South Studies of the University of Tübingen, which is every year is held together with partner university, including the UNAM. It is a pleasure for me as a doctoral student at the University of Tübingen and as a researcher at the center itself in a project that focuses on proximity and interknowledge to welcome you all to this table where we are pleased to present the Society of Anonymous Scientists. I would like to take this opportunity as well to thank first of all to my colleagues at the UNAM, who were in charge of coordinating this series of writers' talks and who made this table possible, especially the Instituto de Investigaciones Filológicas. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with people I admire very much. Thank you, Yvonne, Edivaldo, and thank you, Jimena. Thank you also, of course, our guests, Penelope, Andres, and Jose. Okay, I am not going to say much because I would like to give our guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, but I would like to comment that it's really a honor to be here in this table that is exciting me very much because I am a fan, but I think it's also a very important opportunity to all of us to meet a group of young writers, researchers, scientists who do enormous and valuable work of dissemination of knowledge, mainly in Spanish, but today we have the opportunity to listen to them in English. So this table will consist of a brief presentation by our guests about the work they do. For this, we have thought about in a first block of about 1 hour to hear them talk first about the society, about the collaborative work they do, and finally we would like to hear a little about this proposal called literature nature. So, as Jimena mentioned, at the end we have this session of questions and answer for the public. So welcome. Now you are.
Yeah. Thank
exactly.
you for that. Thank you for calling us young people. That's always nice. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, Dubai, if somebody's in Dubai. I don't know where you are. Sorry for our English. It's not our first language, of course. I guess at the beginning it could be a bit rusty. If you don't understand something, please tell us and we can come back to it and maybe find out how to say it in a better way. I'm Andres Cota, and I'm the founder of Científicos Anónimos. It's weird to say it in English, though, but okay, the Society of Anonymous Scientists, which was born in 2016, Natalia, a friend of mine, and me, we kind of developed this idea to bring like the Café Científic, no, that maybe in UK is more common, like having science events and pubs, for example. It was born in UK, but in Mexico, in that moment, it didn't exist. Actually, it's still like a kind of weird thing to have science in bars and in cantinas. And let's say not just bars and cantinas, it's not just like you don't need actually alcohol or anything like that. It's just to bring the science out of its regular space, right? Out of academia, out of its regular circles, to connect it with a big audience, of course, and to make this kind of public engagement of science communication. No, we like the public engagement aspect of science communication. We like to interact. We like to open up dialogue, and in that way have like open kind of interaction between scientists and people that are not from science. Of course, that's the main goal, I would say, like to diversify the public the more than it's possible. And yeah, like I don't know, like 2016 maybe for the first years we were just in Mexico City, but then of course this began expanding, and now we're a big network. We are in 20 cities now, like happening in 20 cities every month, more or less. Some places is every 3 months. Of course, every community is different, every place is different, and the people that are in the network go from the youngest one. I guess they have like 21, 22 in Colima, and then in Campeche we have somebody that is 60 something. So it's pretty diverse, and that's great, and it's like a nice hobby because we don't win money from this. Like everybody's here just for the sake of it and for the interest, and because we as scientists or with a science background, we are very much, I don't know, like very much. We feel very much that we need to connect science with the bigger audience. Like there's a big lack of that in Latin America, I will say in general. And well, we try to put our little grain of salt, if you say that in English. I don't know if you say that in English, but we try to put our little brick in that construction, right? So I think that now it would be nice to hear Penelope. Penelope is in charge of the branch. Let's call them branches for now. The branch in Querétaro, which is the oldest branch apart from Mexico City. You are how much? 4 years, 5 years? I don't remember. 4 years. So
Andre, sorry, Penelope, I think we need 5 minutes because we kind of forgot to present you. Each of you are the audience, but if it's okay for you, because it's perfect that you already gave us an introduction about the society, and yeah, I will not let Jimena speak a little about Andres, then I will speak about Penelope, and she will speak about Jose again, okay? It's okay,
Yes.
Penelope? Yeah,
It's
perfect.
good. Okay, perfect. So I will begin presenting Andres Cota Iriart, who is a zoologist and naturalist devoted to literature. He studied a bachelor's degree on biology at UNAM and a master's degree in science communication at Imperial College in London, England, with a scholarship from CONACYT. In addition to his texts having appeared in Nexos, La Revista de la Universidad, Gato Pardo, Avispero, and other platforms, he is the author of Fieras Familiares, Cabeza Ajena, El Ajolote, Biología del Anfibio más sobresaliente del mundo, en Faunologías, aproximaciones literarias al estudio de los animales inusuales. He also hosts a podcast called Masaje Cerebral. He's addicted to music, fascinated by reptiles and amphibians, and has a deep interest in mental illness. Now, Cristel will introduce Penelope.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great honor to introduce you to Penelope. She's a biologist who graduated from the Faculty of Science of the UNAM with a master's degree in neurobiology and a PhD in biomedical sciences. During her PhD, she studied some subtleties of the brain processes that occur when we listen to music. She is passionate about science, education and science communication. For many years, she has been a teacher and has collaborated in several science outreach programs such as Expositec, Festival El Ale, Puentes, Radio, Waku, and she's a member of Society of Anonymous Scientists. In addition, she has offered various talks and workshops here and there, and she enjoys dancing. That is something that also I like very much. And yeah, it's a great honor to be here with you. So
thank you very much.
Sorry, now I'm just going to introduce
Okay.
the last member who is here with us, Jose Cortés Larriba, who is from Gran Sierra Plegada, where the curve of Monterrey takes shape. From a young age, he discovered his favorite places in the heart of nature, immersed in the mountains among pines and oaks, swimming through narrow rivers, or contemplating the arid landscapes of the Chihuahuan desert. At an early age, his mother and father introduced him to what remains his most cherished pastimes, camping and building campfires. Later, it came as no surprise that he chose to join the ranks of the Faculty of Biological Sciences at UANL, University in the north in Mexico, from which he graduated as a biologist. Professionally, he has devoted himself to nature conservation and science communication. Today, he leads the Reserva Ecológica Manglares de Chiboja. He is also a beekeeper and contributes to the curation of the Society of Anonymous Scientists in Yucatan. Now, yes, Penelope, you can keep going. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Jimena and Cristel. Cristel said everything about me. I met the society because Natalia sent me an email inviting me to talk about my PhD work. I was living in Querétaro, and they invited me to Mexico City to talk about my work. So I used to talk about my PhD work because it was a very interesting subject. You know, it was very attractive how our brain processes music. So frequently we received that kind of invitation. But Natalia told me that the talk was going to be in a bar, and that was very uncommon. So I was with a lot of curiosity. What is going to happen? No, I don't know how it's going to be being in a bar and talk about science. So I arrived to Mexico City, I went to the bar, and I had the best talk in my life. It was wonderful. I left that place in love with the society. I really love the concept because it was very different. The interaction with the public was totally different, only because the space, the position. I wasn't the doctor or the professor. No? I was Penelope talking about music, explaining how our brains process music. I was with a bunch of friends, drinking beer, eating something, talking about something I feel passionate, and they was very curious, asking a lot of questions very unusual also, because people who is out of science has the best questions ever. Always. They have some questions that we forgot totally. And that was wonderful. The conversation was active all the time. The people is asking all the time, is talking, giving opinions, and that makes that talks very wonderful. So when I turned back to Querétaro, I was thinking that I wanted to do something similar here in this city. So I talked to Andres and Natalia, and I proposed to take this kind of talks in Querétaro. So they trust on me and gave me the first branch of the society. And we have 4 years. In September, we celebrate our 4th anniversary. And I'm very happy. Those 4 years have been wonderful. It's like a motor in my life. Every month, making these events, free events, that it's very important. All the events are totally free. We try to do it in bars, on cantinas, sometimes in cafes, but we try that the places doesn't have that I don't have the word.
Institutionality?
Like
boring and arid.
Yes, we try that the places has an informal environment, right? Mm-hmm. And in Querétaro, we have now a very large public, and we are very happy. And also, like Andres told, it's a very, very, very good hobby because we don't have any money from here, but it doesn't matter because it really fit me. Each month I have something very valuable from these events. No? As Christelle told, I have been a teacher for many years. So for me, it was very important, this work. I saw that was very necessary to talk about science and talk about good science with people, because the science is very easy to explain incorrectly. A lot of people like to explain science, but they do it very bad. And people take that bad ideas, and spread it all around. And you are in the street and you can hear some crazy things about some things that doesn't have any sentido. I don't have the word.
Sense.
Thank you. So I was very worried about it, and I feel the necessity to explain correctly science. So Científicos Anónimos has been the best platform to do it. I have seen how people love to go to the events. They go every month. Most of the people go every month, and they are very enthusiastic and they are very happy there, and they want to participate and they propose new ideas all the time. So I think it's a great project. And as Andres said, we have now 20 cities working in this project, and each one has their peculiarities. They have their own touch. But I think all of them are doing a great work. I don't know if I'm missing something.
It's cool. Like what you were saying is it's like a therapy group. I find out
Yes.
for the people involved and also for the people that go. As Penelope was saying, each community is different. For example, in Mexico City, it's pretty massive. Like Mexico City has a lot of people, of course, and if you offer something that people like, then it grows. Before COVID, we had like it was too big already. There were like 200 people each month going, and that's not the best scenario because maybe it's important to explain what we want to achieve in these events. Like the idea is to have like a particular topic, a particular science topic that we find interesting, that we find important, that maybe surprises us. Like think about superbacterias, no, or superbugs, or think about like whatever. So like schizophrenia, or yesterday we did one with like books and plants in fiction and plants in non-fiction. And of course, like in each event, you have like one or two experts, no, one or two expert voices. They don't have to be scientists and active. They can be science communicators. They can be writers. They can be artists that have just that. The point is that they have researched a lot that topic, and they have certain authority to talk about it. And they expose. We begin like with a short. Well, it depends. It adapts, of course, like a kind of short exposition of the topic. Let's say 20 minutes each participant. And then the main point of the event is the interaction with the public. Like it's always as long or more time of interaction with the public that with when the experts just talk about it, right? So the idea is to open up the mic. And of course, it starts always with questions, because that's the way we are educated. We're educated to make questions and not to offer a comment, right? But we like comments. Like that's what we're searching for. Like that first, like questions and answers go like this, and then people comment, and then some people answer the question of other people, and then it starts to like develop something more than just like a conference with questions. That's the idea. And the main idea will be to create some debate, right? The thing is, making a debate in a cantina or in a bar with 100 people is not easy. Now that I have been doing this for so many years, now I realize that sometimes smaller events are better. Like you get the sense, like the more public, the better, the best, right? When you're talking, you like to talk to a big audience, but for exchange, it's not like that. I feel that like 20, 30 people is perfect, because that allows everybody to participate. Like I have been in several of the branches. When they start, they're not massive at all. No, they have to start. And it's always like 20, 30 people. And in that kind of a scenario, everybody can talk. It's almost like you can pass a mic like this. That's why it's like this anonymous scientist society is like anonymous alcoholics. Like everybody talks, and you say like, oh, I'm Carlos, and I'm a physicist, and I don't know. And you can make jokes, of course. That's nice. When you have a small crowd, it's more intimate, right? If there's 100 people you don't know, you don't feel compelled to make a joke, right? It's more. But anyway, it adapts. It's like that. It grows. It shrinks. Now in Mexico, we have like 70 per event, which is pretty good, I think. And yeah, the main idea of this, when Natalia and me said like, oh, actually Natalia told me like, let's make this science events in cantinas and bars. And I was pretty skeptic. I was thinking like, what for? Like we're going to have like our 4 friends, and they're going to come like for 2 months, and then we'll be alone. And it happened the other way around. Like my friends don't go to these events. It's mainly people I don't know. And I find that I feel that that's the important thing, like to make these events with people that think in another way, like people that are not from your discipline, people that are not from your close friends or your relatives, and they think other stuff, and you have an interchange, which I think we're missing or lacking when we're adults, right? Like the more you grow, the smaller the circle. Like it's your family, it's your work, it's like your three friends, and then you don't talk with other people. So for me now, that's the most exciting part, to interchange ideas and to realize like there's a bunch of perspectives, of course, in any topic, right? So yeah, just to complete what Penelope was saying, and to give this idea of the dynamic. And of course, that can adapt. Like you can have events where you have four people talking a small time, right? Or just one good, very good conference. You have a very good conference, and then that opens up like the mind. And the idea of public engagement and not public understanding is to change this kind of approach, right? Sometimes like saying communication comes from top down, and it's like super solemne. I don't know the word in English for solemne, and soberbio, and it's like, hey, I'm giving you the knowledge, right? And that I don't like that at all. I think that everybody has notions about most stuff now, like this in this age of where we have too much information. So everybody has like little notions, and you part from that, right? And you could have an event, let's say of cancer, for example. Everybody has a relative or a friend or know somebody that had cancer. So you could make an event where you have like medics and I don't know, therapists, and just start with interchange between the public. Like you don't need it like the talk at the beginning with certain subjects, right? Okay, so that for now. Let's say now let's take it to one of our main interests, or my main interest as a writer. I was gonna say also like, yeah, the things you do in life that you don't receive money from them sometimes are the things you value the most, because it's the things you do because you want them, because you're receiving something extra. It's not like a business kind of interchange. It's something else. Which I found out as a writer is, yeah, when you're a writer, you don't expect to win money from what you do. You have to be completing the months, making months and in another way. But what Penelope was saying, just to not let it pass, sometimes ignorance is better than wrong knowledge, right? Like there's not, when you have wrong knowledge and you don't know it's wrong knowledge, and you go like replying it, that's more tricky. So that's why it's nice this like start, like you begin putting the building blocks, and then you start from those building blocks and the notions of the people involved in the event, and then you construct something like collective, right? It's like the way you construct knowledge, like in a collective way. And maybe if I come as an expert and I tell you like this is this this is like this, maybe you say, yeah, whatever, yeah. But if you hear it from other people and you have diverse people involved there talking, and something happens there. That's why it's like a group therapy. That's the way I like to think about it. And yeah, just not to extend that much. Nature writing in Mexico doesn't have a name like that. It didn't have a name. Like nature writing in English and in French and in other countries has a long tradition, right? There's like a genre that it's called nature writing. And in Spanish, until like 4 years ago, there was no name for that. It's funny because I have all my life been a nature writer. I know it because I read English. I realize that it exists. But in Latin America, I couldn't never like present myself like that. It's like nobody knows what you're saying. And since some years ago, there's this term called liternatura, which in Spanish is just like playing with literatura and nature, liternatura. And in Mexico, we created another etiquette that is narrativeza, which is like narrative and naturaleza, right? And it's just like a current, right? Because there's books like this, there's people that write this, there's poets that are inspired by nature, there's like local voices everywhere. But the thing is, they're not like integrated. There's not like a net, and in that sense, it loses like strongness. So that's why we push this etiquette a lot here in at least in Mexico City and in Merida and some other branches, because we really believe that that's like an opportunity to change minds and to come out of this super crisis. And yeah, and like if you have like climate anxiety or I don't know, it's with narrative that people like make their own individuals, right? We are all the time eating narratives, and that's the way our individuality is built. And in that sense, we believe in the power of books. Like not much people read anymore, but the people that read is the way to connect in the most profound way with another individual that you're not talking to. The best way to communicate with another person is to talk sometimes, but you cannot talk with everybody. So maybe books are the next level in that sense, and that's why I write, and that's why we believe in the power of books and the power of books to change this notion that is so prevalent and so dangerous of human beings thinking that we're like something special in nature, like thinking we are like the creatures of God, or thinking that we're like the best creature that evolution has created, like the favorite child of the universe. That's the way we believe, or a lot of people believe. And because of that, we feel empowered to like call everything else mercancies, like, you see a jungle and you're seeing money there and what you can take from the jungle. And that's in a big aspect what has taken us to this moment, right? To this Anthropocene moment, or the way you want to call it, like Cthulhucene, it depends who you read, Capitaloceno, we say in Spanish. But that can change, of course. Culture changes. You can open up your perspectives, and that's why I think this nature writing. And now there's a moment since like maybe 2010, 2012, and now is growing more of like narratives that have to do with nature and have to do with crisis in the climate and all these different aspects. And it's growing. Now biology is a moment of biology in books. Like if you see the story of science, let's say, it's not just science communication books. It's good books, right? It's like you will say Carl Sagan was a good writer. Like he wrote about the universe, but he was before anything a good writer. And in the last like 10 years of like 1990 until 2000s, what was there was all like the cosmos and the universe and maybe physics. And then we had a period with Oliver Sacks and some other medics that wrote about brain, about consciousness, about all this kind of neurology. And now I think it's biology, it's the biology moment. So that's a good opportunity. That's what I'm saying. And just to finish up, nature writing or literatura is nice because it doesn't, it opens up to any registry. It's open to poetry, it's open to essay, it's open to fiction, even to narrative, of course, to podcast, like to the like literature expanded. And that's why we like it, right? And to children books. And it's just to empower that. And I imagine this in the future. That's what I would like to achieve. It's like you arrive to any bookstore or to any library, and you will have like a shelf of literatura, like you will find out a place where everything is converging, and in that sense, empowering everything else. That's what we're trying to do with literatura, and it's slow, but it will happen. Sooner or later, we'll have a festival. Now there's a festival in Barcelona. There's a festival in Colombia. There's going to be a festival in Los Angeles, and we're going to have a Mexican festival, of course, but we just need somebody to pay for it. In the meantime, we create books and we empower like new voices. No, that's the point. And maybe Jose can tell us a bit more of that, because in Mérida, we have been like pushing that boat, right?
Hola, hello, hello. I'm Jose, and well, I work with jaguars conservation. I manage a natural reservation. I'm an apiculture, but also I like a lot to do science communication, and I do it for hobby because I like, but also for duty, because I think that the people that make science, we need to talk about about what we are doing, and not to just our friends of science and other people. So what we are doing in Merida is the same and the other cities give talks. Each city has their own formula and their own way to communicate science. So what we like to do, okay, I'm not do that by myself. I have a partner. His name is Alvaro, and Alvaro, if you are here hearing that, just come and say hello. So so what we try to do here in Merida is to give talks, but we like to be like close to the scenic situation. We create like a scenic space, like theater. We like to play a lot with that. So but talking about what we do. Oh, this is Alvaro. This is my partner. He's very creative, has a lot of energy. So say hello to him. See, we share office here in Merida. So we like literature. So I read about literature, about the concept, reading a book from Andres that the name is Cabeza Ajena. That's why I met him, because this book blows my mind. It was like too similar to in the book he was talking about an student of biology, and when I read that, I remember when I was studying biology. So I read Andres because of that, just to say hello. I like a lot your book. I read him on Instagram, and he said, "Oh, nice," and what you do. So at that time, I was running for not too much, but I was running a project that the name is Casa de Lagartijas, Lizard's House. So what I was doing with that is to invite my friends of science to give talks in bars and cultural spaces. So when Andres asked me what I do, I told him everything. And when he heard about the talks, he told me, "Hey, I'm running Científicos Anonymous. Would you like to do that on Merida?" So I called with Alvaro. That Alvaro was running a podcast, and we decided to do that, Científicos Anónimos. So we have the talks, and also in Merida we have our own podcast. The name is Jarabe contra la Neurosis, and you can hear it and on Spotify. So with the experience of the talks on different subjects about science, when we, ¿cómo se dice cumplir? When we cumplimos un año.
When we turn 1 year. Like
when we turn 1 year running this in Merida, me and Alvaro talk and both said what I must a lot of this is the literature. So then we start to think about what we're gonna do with literature. So we create a workshop about literature, and we invite Andres to participate with us, and well, was pretty cool. It was just for 12 people, because we needed to be like close for all to understand what is going to happen. We create a booklet with different authors. He's our first publication. Literatura en el SACB, literature at the SACB. SACB is
Mayan word.
Mayan concept.
Mayan
word.
It's like a Mayan ancient highway that illuminates with the light of the moon at night, because the highway is white because of the stones that we have here. So it is the name of the book. There's like 10 different authors about literature in this booklet. So is the student book for our workshop. So it was pretty cool. Andres was here teaching us how to write about with nature, and was pretty cool. At the same time, at the same day, but at night, we create an event of poetry. Was our first event, not the first. The first event about literature was the presentation of the book of Andrés Fieras Familiares 2 years ago. But this one was we created for a friend that her name is Nadia Escalante. She's a pretty cool poet, and she's not she never studied in the academic about nature, but she was writing a book about the native trees of the city of Merida, but she was writing poetry about that, but using concepts of science, of morphology of the plants, of physiology of the plants. So we create this. We invite Andres again for that to run the event, and to to have a conversation, like interviewing Nadia, and we invite another scientist. Carlos Trejo is his name. He's a specialist in botanist and in trees in the city. So it was pretty cool because Nadia was reading her poems, but poetry could be like, poetry for me is beautiful, but poetry could be like complicated. Like there's a lot of poetry that has a lot of abstraction, and well, me a lot of times I don't understand nothing when I read a poem. So that was the case. Some of the poems you can understand, but some of those you can understand nothing. So that was the job of the other guy, Carlos Trejo. As a botanist, when Nadia read something, Carlos say to the public, what Nadia is trying to telling you with this poetry. She's talking about the leaves of the trees, the fruits, how they grow, how they die, how they work. So it was too interactive with the people. We always do that on bars, and in Merida works pretty cool, and that's what we are doing here in Merida with literature. To be specific about literature. So that's all. We can conversate more, but for showing what we are doing with that is that the workshops and the events, and also I'm start to writing, and the people say that it's good, so I feel comfortable. With the pen, with the pencil, so maybe in a year there's gonna be a book of me. I hope.
Yeah.
Thank you
Like
so much.
I think it's important this that Jose said, that like that's the way books change sometimes your life, or little aspects of your life, right? Like Jose has become one of my close friends, I think, and it was just because of a book I wrote, and he found it. Like it's also very weird because this was one of my first books, and it's like in a super independent publishing agency called Mo, which is like Mushroom, and it's just sold like in 3 places. It's a really like dark kind of book, and Jose found it, I don't know where, in Mexico somewhere.
I found it in a
in a
CBD
smoke
bar.
shop. In a smoke
In a
shop,
CBD
right?
in a CBD bar.
Yeah, but it spoke to me. But when he wrote me, like in Instagram, Instagram now is a new mail. And he was telling about the book. I thought he was talking about my new book, like in that moment, a book I consider like a better book in a sense. But when I found out he was talking about the old book, I said like, oh, this guy knows his shit, right? Like this guy is so, and that way, like I know books make that kind of thing. And just to complete what's happening now, like the festival is in standby because of course it's expensive, but it will happen. But in the meantime, what we're almost like in December it will come out. We're publishing our first anthology, like the first anthology of nature writing in Spanish. I was thinking now, like literatura in Spanish has a lot of sense, literatura. But when we begin talking in English and we make literature, I don't think in English that has sense. But well, whatever. It's nature writing, right? And the idea is to I don't know to put some voices there that we have been finding out, like Nadia Escalante that Jose was mentioning, and some others. And it's funny because now that it's gonna come out, I just realized like it's the first nature writing book in Spanish, not just in Mexico and Latin America, also in Spain. Like Spain hasn't like they haven't said like, oh, let's make an anthology of voices in Spain. So I had this email from a publishing agency in Spain trying to convince me to make it like Hispanoamericano, like trying to say like, oh, you're gonna do this anthology, you should invite Spanish authors. And I was like, no way. Like I told her like, yeah, of course we can do like a Hispanoamericano, whatever, anthology in the future if you get some money to do it. But in the meantime, this is Mexican, and it's not because I'm local or anything. It's just because here we kind of like managed to get some money from the government and other instances to make it, and we're paying to the writers a little bit, but we're paying. And I like this idea that it's going to be the first one, right? I hope it's the first of many. Like the idea of this is just to create more spaces and to find out more voices and maybe put like you know, when you say in Spanish, crear cantera, that is like open up the pathway for young authors also, like, and they can, oh, this exists. And then we have a lot of biologist friends that have like experience, like more crazy experience than what I have had, and like better stories to tell. It's just that maybe they don't think about telling them. You know? I think that what we're missing in all the science careers, and I think that's worldwide, I would say, is having more humanities in the programs, in the education programs. Like every career, every bachelor degree, not just of science, every bachelor degree in the world should have like a writing class and a reading class, like, because that's super important for whatever you're gonna do in your life. Like, well, maybe in the future, GPT and the chats and everything will change that. But for now, whatever you do, you have to be writing essays and like applying for grants and for prizes and like for jobs even. So everybody will be like better off if they could communicate in writing better, right? So, and also humanity, like, yeah, science is missing a lot of humanities. That's a fact. But yeah, anyway, sorry, Jimena, I like to talk, so please.
No, thank you. Sorry, I just was thanking you that it's amazing. I mean, I am really a fan. I follow your account on Instagram, and also I am like trying to. I am tracking your work. As well, because yeah, I have been for a while in Germany for a while. Then I came back to Mexico, and I'm trying to get your books. But it's really amazing. But something that I found really interesting is the fact that you are like doing this dissemination in these spaces where not just like in a way to trying to summarize what you already talked about, that you are giving this presentation in these bars, cantinas, as a pubs, in a way, yeah, speaking about, you told Andres us about your experiences and your, testimonies in a way that came from your work with science. But I was also thinking about in this idea of Anonymous, like thinking about Alcohólicos Anonymous. No, this is also a way to say, yeah, I am also passionate and in a way addicted to science, right? And I think many of you are like also addicted to this thing that you do in this way, and I find that's really really incredible. And I was just thinking that also that in this part of your work is important not just to think, yeah, or of course your books are amazing and you are like conquest a field in Mexico that have been like not too important in the last years, yeah, in the past. But also I think this job about speaking about science, as a thinking about literatura, not just as something written, but also as something spoken. You know, it's really, I don't know, I find it's fascinating that so it's also like in a way, yeah, I have speaking with Jimen about that. I don't know, we here at the center involving or working with a lot of I would say decolonial theories, change of perspectives, the discussion about epistemologies, I don't know, thinking of the discussion also about science and knowledge and in this space. We were also like speaking or discussing how I don't know, I would say that how strategical is to speak about literature in this moment where we have other ways to understand the world, other ways to think about literatura, right? And I don't know, I think this is maybe you have said that in another spaces, but you are like doing that, maybe using a word that is in a way also an old word or a mainstream word, but also bringing together the spoken, the I don't the human connections, not just with humans, but also with other beings. I don't know. I find that's really amazing. I know. Sorry, Jimena. I give you the word again, and yeah, thank you.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I have a lot of questions. I was checking YouTube in case we had something there. Not yet. If you want to, I'm talking to the audience now. If you want to make a question, write something, we will definitely address that. But before that, I really want to ask some questions. I want to know if you would say that literatura is a literary genre, because you spoke about tradition, but I really want to know if it is a literary genre, what characteristics must this type of writing possess, and does it have a particular aesthetic? And lastly, what are the benefits of categorization in this particular time and in this case, in what you want to achieve with your organization and with the concept literatura?
Hey, yeah. I would say it's an anti-genera. Like, I mean, in Spanish, this could develop into a nice discussion. In English, I'm pretty limited. But I would say it's an anti-genera in the sense, or a transgenera, let's say. Es un género transgenérico. It's transgeneric because it mixes everything, right? Like, this also is like, the books I wrote before finding out this kind of etiquette. They were always called like that you couldn't classificate them, like they were not like collections in the different brands of books of publishing agencies to put it, right? Like the book Jose was talking about, Cabeza Ajena, actually is in that super independent publishing house because it didn't fit anywhere else. Like I tried to publish it before, like in the big things, and they say like this is like fiction and non-fiction at the same time, and it's an essay, but at the same time it's a novel, but at the same time, you know, like it's a mix. It's experimental, I guess you will say it. But that's the books I like. That's the books I like to write, and that's the books I like to read. books that take things from different parts of the tradition. Like I love these books that have like a structure where they will mix maybe poems and then in somewhere parts of like narrative and then somewhere just like aspects of of hardcore science communication and then drawings. I like that. So that's why I like this kind of literatura. It not only allows that, it maybe even prices it, because like that's what you're searching in those books, like a super subjective kind of a very subjective piece of somebody that is talking about her experience of an aesthetic way of nature, right? An aesthetic approach to nature, an approach to nature that it's always open to surprise, of course, and to the surprise that it makes in you, and you share it in a sense. And of course, it's not just like putting the voice, the human voice in the center. Of course, these books, like what they want to put in the center is other creatures, other species, animals, plants, fungi. Like now we have a lot of, it's kind of almost like in fashion, like the fungi world, right? That there's a bunch of books now that have to do with mushrooms, big sellers, of course, like you can see the mushroom at the end of the world from Anna Singh. And that's a book that is a bestseller, and it's an amazing book, and it's actually a research project, That's the kind of books we like. So I would say that it's very open, like it's not defined by style, it's not defined by the way it's made. It's defined more about what it talks. In Spanish, you will say it's not, es el fondo lo que lo define, right? I don't know in English how to say that. It's not la forma, but el fondo. Like it has to do more with what it's talking about than the way it's being said. And this is a thing I like a lot, like people that come from the arts. I mean, I have always been with one feet in the arts and with one feet in science. But people that come mainly from the arts have this idea that everything has been said. Like, art is just a bit like washing machine of what we have said before, and it's just finding new ways to say it, right? That's one idea. But if you think about it, like everything has been said maybe in the human kind of experience. Like humans, we are very limited. Like we have 23 passions, right? Like any short story you read, you can reduce it to 23 passions. And when the first time I heard that, I said like, "Now way," and you begin doing it, and yes, way, because we have a very limited experience. But if you take out humans from the center and you open up the eyes to everything else, like how many species there are, just thinking about animals, no? Like if you then go to mushrooms and to plants and to bacteria, and of course, and you see like the deep time also, like, because we always talk about like some 1,000 years, which has been human history, and that's nothing. Like if you see it in the deep time of the world, or deep time of biology, and then you realize like nothing has been said. Like it's not that everything has been said; it's nothing has been said. Like it's just a matter of turning out of like what's the tradition in certain cultural aspects, right? So I don't know if I'm answering your question with that. I hope yes, and if not, I'm open to more perspectives, like more branches. Yeah, Jose, jump in.
I think it's important to create the concept, to have the concept of literature. For example, this is something simple, but when I discovered literature as a concept, I didn't knew that it was new. So I was on libraries, independent libraries or bookstores, and I asked the librarians, "You have something of literature?" and they didn't know what. And I said, "Well, literature exists or doesn't exist, or what is that thing that I discovered?" So that was two years ago. But now in Merida, we have like three independent libraries. But if you go to those libraries now and you ask for books of literature, there's a space for literature. The librarians know what is literature, so you can find the titles, you can find the books that you are looking for. So I think this is important. Just to search the book is important to do that. And talking about the gender or what is the importance of literature, I think we can use literature for different things. We can be inspired of nature and write about that inspiration. But I think it's a tool for communicate natural science. The exercises that I'm doing writing are about that, to try to communicate science. For example, for me, I took the tool of literature to write about that. So I explain a lot of process of biology. I explain a lot of process in ecology, interaction with the species, but I do it like in telling stories. So I think it's easy for the people that likes nature like in a romantic way to involve them in a good I don't remember the word, but as Penelope says, that good communication, that giving correctly the information. So I think literature is a tool that is important for that, and it's easy to do that with literature. So it doesn't matter if it's poetry, essay, or it's a novel, but you can use the tool for communicate science, and I think this is cool.
And I think it also it's useful to reconnect with nature, because humanity is disconnected most in the cities. No, in the cities we are far away from the nature, and we don't recognize, or we don't have the value of the nature. We forget that we receive a lot of things from nature, and we are losing the love and the gratitude for nature. So I think that the literature can help us to reconnect, to live that love and that admiration and that interaction with nature across a history, and we can feel the curiosity or the need, I don't know how to say it, the necesidad to live that also, to experiment that kind of things. I think it's very important for that also.
Yes, thank you very much. So just to clear some of my thoughts, so literatura must be informative. It must inform something about nature and science in general, or a text that talks about nature can be considered literatura, even if it's not informative, even if it doesn't express scientific discourse and information. That's a question that I have for you guys. Mm-hmm. And also, yes, that's mainly what I wanted to ask, because there's a lot of literature about nature that is not informative, and that is not about.
I would say no. It doesn't have. It's not like it is. It's not a condition. Like it doesn't have to be informative in a didactic way. I will even say that there's a bunch of like fiction books even that will fit in what I think it's like this literatura. Like say Du Andres' Dream of Electric Sheep, no? And maybe you know that book of Philip K. Dick. the book that inspired Blade Runner. Maybe everybody knows Blade Runner, I hope. And the book talks a lot about like a world we are going now. We're approaching every time more. You know, it's a world where there's no more animals, and we have made substitutes like mechanic substitutes for animals. And of course, in that in that world that Philip K. Dick created, the thing we value the more is the last animals that exist, right? Like it's what's happening now, like with the big extinction. And of course, what's happening in that book, you will know, is like humankind, people are going to be also subsidized by these replicants, by these super advanced robots, because we're animals at the end of the day, right? So if we have exchanged all the animals for like robots, then it will happen to us also. And I think that's like something that we could try and we could bring and reflect to like literatura. Sometimes like your questions are nice, and Jose also sometimes asks me, he sends me a text and asks me like, you think this is literatura? And I always say like, we're inventing it. Like, yeah, it can be. I mean, of course it has to have some kind of barriers, but they are not like how do you say this, like strong barriers. They emerge, right? Like general, like literally general don't exist. It's just a way we classify in order to sell books and in order to make art fairs. It's the same with cinema, like this division between fiction and non-fiction in cinema, like a documentary or like a conventional film, whatever, doesn't exist. There's a bunch of films that are in the between, and they are both and none at the same time. And sometimes those are the most interesting ones, but they are not getting screen time. They're not entering to festivals, or in this sense to some publishing houses, just because they don't fit in the concepts, right? It's like if you say, oh, this is a detective novel, or is it like I don't know, or is it a terror novel, or is it, I don't know, it's a big discussion. Like even big hits of now, let's say Latin American authors, like, I don't know, Mariana Enriquez books, which are now in the top sellers. Well, they play a bit with terror, but I wouldn't say that they're terror books. They're good books. They just play with these universes that I don't know. So in that sense, I would say literatura doesn't have to be informative, but maybe have to make you have some kind of thoughts. Like it should start your brain thinking on things that have to do with nature, that have to do with our like exchange with nature, that have to do with us being part of nature, and not just part of nature, being nature ourselves, right? We are nature inside of us. We're ecosystems. We're completely full of like microscopic beings, like thousands of species, millions of beings that live in your body, and they're endemic to your body. Like we have an endemic worm of our eyelashes, you know. Every one of us now has like 50 or 40 in each eye, and it's an endemic worm of the human eyelash. So that's nature. I mean, for that worm, we are nature. So I think in that sense, I will open up just that. I like it's an anti-genera. I like the possibility of it to be like morphing, right? And I would say that said, maybe some of the books are informative, and that's not bad. You know, like it's a big discussion with other writers I have all the time. Like writers that write fiction, especially, will always say like books don't no sirven para nada. I don't know in English. It's not that they don't work for anything. They don't have like they don't have a purpose. They don't have non-purpose, but just existing. And I would say that's okay. It's like science. Science should be basic science always, but that doesn't mean that you can make some applicate science, you know. And that doesn't mean that the power of narrative, that the power of literature can sometimes work, and like Jose was saying, to disseminate the information. Yeah. See.
Well, But okay, yeah, thank you. I lost you like for a couple of minutes. I hope I didn't miss importance. I think what many of the
Most
things that you are
important.
saying, most of the things are really important. I was just thinking about. I also have some thoughts that I would like to share with you because thinking about some things that you already mentioned and thinking about the idea, thinking about from my position as a researcher, we are like discussing also in our center this idea of science as a part of this colonial process, right? We are also like trying to bring also indigenous knowledge, like as a part of the discussion. I was just thinking about something that Jose mentioned before, like also poetry, that's something abstract and in a way difficult to understand. And for me, like science also, maybe I might be wrong, but it's as a kind of a thought. Science has been like a way, a language in a way, right? You also speak a lot about communication, and that for me it goes through language every time. And for me, it's this way is also science, a language, right? And you, Andres, mentioned before, like something about wrong knowledge. I don't know if there is really wrong knowledge or a wrong way to communicate knowledge, right? Because we if we say like wrong knowledge, it could be also be problematic, right? And I don't know. I was also like thinking about this idea. Okay, for many people, poetry can be difficult, but for many people, think or speak about science could be difficult as well, right? And I was just trying to reconnect this idea of language, that your work on communication, and to think about words in this way. And I just also told you before, like in this discussion about science and other knowledge, interknowledge in a way, in proximities, yeah. Why do you use this word, science and literatura? It's just to get back to my first a kind of a question that I want to maybe I don't want to incommodate you, but maybe just to be a little like to bring more flavor to this conversation. I hope I don't disturb you with my question, but it's the idea: why science? Why literatura? Why do you use this word to speak about your project? And if I understand that also well, you are like the society using this literatura, but there is also other collectives outside Mexico, right, using this word literatura. Yeah, I already heard that you are like more like speaking about narrativales. I don't know. Just could you maybe explain why? And yeah, it's
Okay, you said too many things, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to address every kind of. I don't know if we have time for that, but I think I mean, we could start a big discussion like about what's good or bad or wrong or knowledge, right? Like I would say it's not about science; it's more about critical thinking. And I would say there's some wrong knowledge where what I'm referring to is like, say, if you think that hydroxide de cloro is gonna cure you from COVID, maybe you're gonna die. If you are an anti-vaxxer, I'm sorry, there's some aspects that, come on, you cannot, like in this time of age, you cannot think that the world is flat, and many stuff. Like I was listening yesterday to some to some scary data, like in United States, not just in the United States, but they did it in several countries. How many people would you think in the United States know that people and dinosaurs didn't live together. Like it's scary. Like if you see that only 28% of the population in this question answer that no, we definitely didn't share time, humankind and dinosaurs. Come on, like that's huge, right? Or how many people you think they have this notion that the sun goes around the earth in this moment? Like that's what we have to battle a bit. Like I do think that there's some certain parts of like general culture that we should try to make everybody have, right? It's not imposing, like because the sun doesn't go around the earth, like there's some aspects that we know are like that. Without that, I'm not saying like local knowledge or traditional knowledge is not right. Sometimes it's very right. Like, of course, like if you want to make like a biologist, I can just talk about my experience, but if you want to make a classification, biology classification of animals and plants of certain region, yeah, of course, the first thing you have to do is talk with the natives because they know everything. Like they will call them as they want. And sometimes their kind of classifications are even more real in a sense that what you get there to do, like with morphology. And of course, in a big aspect of nature writing and of these voices that maybe, Robenval, Kilmer, I don't know, there's a bunch, but there's always like this, or not always, but many times trying to bring like the local knowledge to the front, right? Like, and at least make a conversation like between scientific approach and the local knowledge. And many times you will find out that they go pretty in the same way, right? Not in everything, of course. But that's why I was saying, like, like you put several topics that could open huge discussions, like, and tricky discussions. It's not easy to solve like in three words the terms of knowledge, right? I don't know. Why do we take it? Well, I don't know. I can't just talk about myself again. Like that's the way I understand the world. That's the way I develop myself, and I have been always between science and between books and between literature. So that's the way I understand it, and music, of course. Without music, we die, right? If you have to just keep one thing in life, one art, then you keep music and you don't write and fuck it. But yeah, that's what I can say from myself. I don't know, Penelope and Jose.
I would like to say something about what you said about that poetry or science could be difficult to understand. I think that is our work, because I like this phrase that is everything that you can say it clearly. And that's the work. That's our job, to say it clearly, to try one way. And if it's not clear, try another and try another until the idea is totally clear for everybody. And I think that's very important in our job. And also, about what Andres was saying, that it's not about to talk about only data, say data to people and just keep all this information. It's about to create and to develop a critical think, that people start to think, to analyze what is happening around them. Because there's a lot of people that is living with fear about a lot of things that don't have any sense, or they are not afraid of some things that they should. And I think it's about better living, a better, I don't know, I forgot, calidad de vida. I like to look that for people, that they have a better way of live. as a society and as an individual.
Thank you so much. There were no questions in the social media, but I just wanted to say really quickly that I think the concept of literatura is very subversive because the way that we think about science as objective and rational, and that it must be expressed in this very academic type of tone, and kind of not listening to that and deciding to recur to the methods of literature, which is perceived as something very subjective and emotional, and it's not necessarily like that, but it is perceived like that. I think that that is a very interesting and subversive way of expressing science, and I really, really like it. And also, well, I've been listening and observing what contemporary Latin American writers are doing right now, and I can think of a lot who are actually doing things that are very similar to what you guys explained, which is literatura, no? Like Elisa Díaz Castelo with her book Principia, or Marisela Guerrero, El sueño de toda célula, and we could go on and on and on, because there are so many texts right now in Latin America that are being written and that are published with that type of focus on nature and scientific truth and scientific discourse. So yes, that, and also to finalize this these things I'm saying, my ideas, I really do consider that this type of writing, I don't know what you guys think, but could be thought of as a type of artistic approach to activism, perhaps because it can make us think about our position in the world, about humanity's relationship with the earth, for example, our economic system and the way that it has taught us to view nature as a resource. Like, that's a very utilitarian perspective. I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys consider that this type of literature could be thought of as artistic activism? I mean, I don't think it has to be, but it could be considered that way. And also, we could close with this question, if you guys agree. And thank you so much.
Yeah, totally. I mean, then it doesn't have to be, but it can be. If you think about, like, let's say, this book, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, Andreas Mann. I don't think it's in Spanish yet, but How to Blow Up a Pipeline is exactly what you're saying. It's like an activist manifesto of the time going, right? And it's basically, it has to do with recognizing how desperate is the scene now. Or you can see, like, Greta Thunberg just published a book. Well, she's a compilator, it's an anthology. And yeah, of course, it's activism. And of course, we have to fight this business as usual of governments and of corporations. Because if not, we're going to be extinct. Or maybe not extinct, that's maybe too big a word. But at least quality of life for the next generations is going to change drastically a lot. And that's just staying like in an anthropocentric argument, right? Like, just like, because of course we know that, like, the crisis that is now developing has to do a lot with our economical, with capitalism. But capitalism is we're gonna not see it die, of course. But we can play with capitalism and make, like, and make better decisions for the environment, based on business. We can do that totally. But yeah, of course, that what you were saying just rang a bell there. And what you said before, look at like you can see it like in certain characters. He's like when Jane Goodall began working with chimpanzees, she put names to the chimpanzees. So the science kind of discipline of the moment, like primatologists of the moment, were saying like, oh, that's not serious. Come on, how can you call them by names? That's not science. And look what Jane Goodall did. Like she changed primatology forever, and she changed the way we understand human evolution. Just with a more emotional approach, and I think that's okay. I don't think I mean it can be tricky also, but like if you see, I don't know, like let's say Oliver Sacks. If you see Oliver Sacks and all his work treating patients, mental patients of a lot of different kinds, and giving them like this 30 years of therapy to the same patient and going to their home, and he was very criticized in the moment. A lot of the psychiatrists, or how you call it in English, los psiquiatras, will criticize this idea of going to the home of the patients instead of patients going to the hospital. And you read his books and you realize that that's more, it's a much more humane approach to people that have any condition, any mental condition. And I totally admire him, and I think he pushed in a good way psychiatry. So I would say that this idea of science having to be objective and like this, it depends what kind of science, and it depends in what moment. Yeah, of course, like if you see physics, like elemental particle physics, well, it's difficult to be emotional with quarks and with neutrinos, I don't know. But if you're treating with people and you're treating with other living beings, I think it's okay to be emotional. I think it's better, if not. And that's the power, again, just to bring it again to narrative, right? Like, that's the power of narrative. Like it's bringing an emotional aspect to stuff, right? Like and of course with humor, and sometimes humor is the best way to treat the most delicate subjects, right? Like climate crisis, or stuff like that. Yeah, I see it now, like honestly, like an opportunity, and this two people you mentioned, Elisa and Marisela, are also in the anthology. So yeah, we have done our good work searching for them. I'm a big fan of both of them, and of other voices. Like what I would like to see this is just like to bring together, right? Like it's like if you play reggaeton and then you realize that there's more people playing reggaeton. Well, it makes sense to make a movement, right? It makes sense to join forces. I mean, it's not obligated. Of course, well, I don't know the name now in English. It just ran away from my head. But I mean, it's polemico, no? I have had discussions with, I don't know, Mónica Nepote, for example, that she's like a eco poetry, like she would say eco poesía, eco writing. And she doesn't like that much, like having another kind of etiquette. But okay, she doesn't have to come to this etiquette, right? And also it can expand. Maybe it's not just one etiquette; it's a lot of them, but they're all have to do with with a same kind of thing. And yeah, there's other voices, of course, in Latin America, and there's also in Spain. And I don't know. I just would like to think that, because in Mexico at least, most of nature writing comes from other places and we translate it to Spanish, right? That's how it has worked, like from the north, from the global north. Also, our narratives are like, everybody knows the life cycle of the salmon, for example, and we don't have salmons here. Like, we should know the life cycle of bats that agave bats, So, and that changes with local narrative. And I would love to think that in the future, some Spanish books are going to be translated into other languages, and then it changes, right? Like Like, and I think kids are like children books are very important because we cannot grow up thinking spiders are bad, like, and that's at the level of kids. Like when you're 6 years old, you cannot grow up thinking snakes are super dangerous and you have to kill snakes and we're all afraid of snakes. Come on, because if not, we're gonna stay alone in the world. We're gonna be humans, chickens, cows, and the utilitarian species. Well, and cockroaches and pigeons, of course, pigeons forever. I don't know.
I
Okay,
want to say just a
yes.
little thing about what you were saying to this idea of the literature as an artistic approach of I forgot the word, to activist, artistic
Activism,
of
yes.
activist, and talking about nature. So what I like to literature, or what I recommend to the to my friends or people, read this, or read this little thing that I wrote. There's one thing for taking care of something. First, you need to know it, and then you get in Spanish we say sensibilizar. I don't know in English, sensitize, or I don't know. So, but that thing most of the times is just in one level. For example, talking about jaguars. So it's easy to sensibilize people with this animal because it's beautiful. Okay, it's romantic to talk about jaguars, but this is too short. So what I always try to do is to explain why jaguars or whatever animal is important for nature and for humans also. What is the ecological importance of the species? So with literature, you can talk about this and not just talk about how beautiful the jaguar is. So for me, it's important that the people know what is the importance of the jaguar in nature and why it's important to conserve this species. And also, it's beautiful. So I think literature as a tool, as an artistic approach, is pretty good to use it for that.
Thank you, Jose. I also wanted to just very briefly to add at this idea, because I was like asking about this idea of literature, this word, because also in my work I always reflect on this, why I still continue to use this term, right? Yeah, we want to communicate, to understand us, but also I was thinking about what you mentioned as this idea of literatura as a tool, as you already mentioned, Jose, too, and also you mentioned Penelope and Andres to go beyond the borders, right? Beyond this limitation, beyond this this idea of science, like we thought relation with literature, right? Science, we thought relation with the world beyond our universities or laboratories. Yeah, and I find your job amazing, and I really thank you for this time, and I wish you all the best for the next events, for your future festival. And yeah, I don't know if you want to add something, but from my side, it's everything. Thank you really a lot for this time, and see you around. I will visit your your discussion soon, I hope. So
I just want to give a little publicity in our website. cientificosanonymous.org, there's a lot of articles, different, very different subjects, and you can read all of them in the website. So it's not just literature. There's a lot of things, but you can find pretty cool things in our website. So I invite the million of people that are listening to us now to search in our website, and it's gonna be a good time for you.
Well, thank you so much, Jose, Penelope, Andres. I am very interested in what you do, and this has been a very enriching experience. I'm sure Cristel feels the same way. And well, that's it for today. We invite everyone watching to keep following the events of this forum that will take place next week, especially 2 sessions that are part of this cycle. On November 13, Mayeli Gonzalez and Luis Carlos Barragan will be discussing humanity in nature in Latin American science fiction. And on November 14, Liliana Colanzi will talk about world crisis, among other subjects. So keep following the event. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Cristel and everyone. It was great. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.